Yes, just then. I typed in a typo where I thought it was low and it was actually a C, the high side's going. So yeah, I was like, okay, why am I getting the image? But now we are.
am going to ask you to stand and welcome Craig and his family. Before then, could you please check to see if you've got any mobile devices that they are on silent in a bucket of water outside in the rain, wherever they're not going to interrupt the service. Thank you. Everyone, can you please stand if you're able, and we're going to welcome Craig. Thank you, everyone. Please sit down. Those of you with seats. Tēnā koutou e tēnei ahi ahi. Good afternoon, welcome, and thank you for being here as we gather to celebrate the life of Craig Stewart McLachlan. He aha te kai e te rangatira. He kōrero, he kōrero, he kōrero. What is the food of leaders? It is communication, communication, communication. Good communication, internal and external. And in the last difficult 2 weeks of Craig's life, that is what he did. He communicated. He led his friends and family through excruciating grief to a place of acceptance and, as much as possible in the circumstance, to a level of calm. He especially communicated that he wanted this occasion to be a celebration, which I reckon is a pretty tough ask. And to honour his wishes, I know that we will do our very best. We will smile, but there may be sticky points too. And in the safety of this chapel, expressing sorrow is absolutely fine. I'm Leanne Fraser, and on behalf of our funeral director, Heather Young, it's a privilege to be in our respective roles today, to lead this service on behalf of Craig's family. And to Craig's family, Joe, Brianna, Jamie, Hugh, Ava, Lee, Blair, Ewan and Betts, and his extended family. By the size of this gathering, we can see how many people were touched by his life. And although it might be overwhelming, we have you in our thoughts and in our hearts. Even though in New Zealand we're almost back to a new normal, these remain extraordinary times. And before we proceed, I'd like to welcome everyone joining us via live stream. It's wonderful to be able to share this ceremony with you, and a very special welcome to Craig and Joe's daughter, Brianna, in London, and friends in New Zealand and elsewhere in the world. There are times in life when we are called to be bridges, not a great monument spanning a distance and carrying loads of heavy traffic, but a simple bridge to help one person from here to there over some difficulty such as pain, fear, grief, loneliness, a bridge which opens the way for ongoing journey. I borrowed those words from Joy Cowley because this ceremony is a bridge, and perhaps the time spent with Craig in hospital was a bridge as well, taking us from disbelief to grief and eventually to mourning. For many of us, I guess it's a shock to be here at all. Craig's illness was sudden and it took him so swiftly, and it's rocked us. But there is a lot to be grateful for as well, and one of the important reasons for having this service is to gather the memories that Craig leaves us, the memories which we can take into the future as we go on without his physical presence. But the cement is still wet, and grief is a little bit like a dance in uncomfortable shoes, unique to each of us and without rules or time frames. It's a tricky emotion, and that can ambush us years from now. Craig's recent illness does not define the person he was, nor the life he led. Lovingly proud of his family, his Scots heritage, someone who could turn his hand to almost anything and give it 110%. He had an incredible work ethic. He was a thoughtful person who respected humanity. He was practical, pragmatic, and yes, sometimes he was a bit stubborn. But stubborn is what gives you strength sometimes. He was one of life's gentlemen, and in every sense of that word. And as Nan reminded me the other day, he was very kind. My husband Alistair and I have known Craig for many years, and I was part of his Rotary family. Joe said the other day one of Craig's languages of love was in acts of service to his community, and he did that in truckloads, quietly. So for everyone here, this ceremony is personal, and it is for me too. Before beginning our family tributes, here's a little of what to expect. Shortly, Lee is going to be brave and come up here and start us off. And following our personal tributes, we'll pause for a time of reflection. And at the end of Craig's service, his casket will be carried to the hearse outside, and you're invited to follow the family and place a personal tribute if you wish. After this, please do join us for light refreshments at the end of our service. And if you haven't already done so, Craig's memorial book will be next door. Lee, I'd like to invite you to begin.
The last few weeks have been a terrible roller coaster. When Craig asked if I would speak at his funeral just over a week ago, I said, yes, of course I can, Craig. The shocking thing for me is that I thought that I'd have longer with Craig. I don't really feel that I've got to know him yet. I haven't spent enough time with him. Craig was 17 months older than me. As I told the hospital staff, we were practically twins. I'll tell you a little bit about our early days We lived on a farm on the outskirts of Taupo. We had a great country life. We spent a lot of time outdoors. We played in the hay barns when we weren't allowed to. We built forts, or really rooms, amongst the hay bales. Once my cousin fell out of the hay barn and broke her arm. Because we weren't allowed to play there and we were afraid of getting into trouble, we lied and said she slipped down a hill. We liked it when we'd had a heavy rain and ended up with small lakes in the paddocks, because we would paddle out in a raft, which was a lot of fun. We had designated roles. My 3 brothers could drive the tractors, motorbikes, operate the farm machinery. My job was to work inside the house and feed the animals. Sometimes I would help feed out hay off the back of the tractor. We all got to move sheep. I didn't really enjoy that. It was stressful being yelled at. We all helped at docking time. We were a good team and we had a few laughs. Mum used to drive us to and from sports, music practice and speech and drama. We had lovely family holidays at the Mount, in Opito Bay near Kirikiri, at Pawanui and Cook's Beach in the Coromandel, and at Ohopi Beach near Whakatane. Craig was very good at any sport that he took on. He played rugby, tennis, squash. He was a swimmer and loved the lake, and he taught aerobics. He played volleyball. Craig also loved watching sport. One of my memories of Craig in our youth was him settling in to watch rugby on TV. This involved a beanbag placed in a prime spot and the best part of 30 seconds spent noisily shuffling and wriggling to get comfortable. He shouted support and advice throughout the match, and sometimes in the middle of the night this was a bit confusing to wake up to. I thought you'd want to know about what led to Craig's death. Craig died at Wellington Hospital on the 30th of December from endocarditis. Craig had somehow got an infection into his blood, which had lodged in and around his heart valves. Craig had a congenital heart defect involving his aortic valve and had been having regular cardiology checks for years with no worries. A few weeks ago, Craig was laid up following a fall on the farm where he was working just north of Masterton. He'd torn his hamstring and was getting physio and waiting for a doctor's appointment. He'd had a lot of pain with the injury. Craig had been trying to manage his pain and was having difficulty with his physio exercises because he was feeling exhausted. After receiving calls from Mum and Joe concerned about Craig, I went over to the Wairarapa to check on him and to take him to the doctor. Craig looked 20 years older than when I'd last seen him. He had a fever and could barely walk with crutches. When he finally got him into ED at Masterton Hospital, things moved quickly. Craig's preoccupying worry was his injury. The doctors were concerned about his high temperature, his inability to walk, his weakness, and his pre-existing aortic valve condition. He had blood tests and was immediately commenced on IV antibiotics. He was flown to Wellington Hospital as soon as possible the next day for specialised cardiac testing. The testing showed that both his aortic and mitral valves were infected and he needed urgent life-saving surgery. He went to theatre, but the surgery couldn't proceed because of internal bleeding. More testing while he was in the theatre showed that his heart had been further damaged, and so on Saturday the 19th of December, the doctor in ICU told Craig that he was going to die due to his heart infection because his heart couldn't be operated on. The first thing Craig said to the doctor was, "Thank you for telling me. Can you please pass on my thanks to all the specialists and their teams because I know that they tried hard and did their best to save me." Joe, Jamie, Hugh and I had been with Craig constantly throughout the previous week with Brianna on FaceTime. We had promised Craig that we would stay with him. We were upset. He comforted us. Craig said, "What will be, will be." He said he'd had a good life and he was at peace. The doctors said they thought he probably only had a couple of days. The ICU nurses were lovely. Craig was wheeled outside on his bed so that he could feel the breeze. Unfortunately, it was one of those Wellington specials. However, Craig did appreciate it. I happened to work at Wellington Hospital, so it was strange to be the visitor of a very sick patient who was my brother in my workplace. We contacted family members and friends of Craig's to tell them how sick he was and that he didn't have long to live. Craig wanted to see as many people as possible, and people wanted to see Craig. Joe and I regulated the visiting according to how much energy Craig had, because he would fully engage with each person and then be exhausted and not able to speak. This went on for a few days in ICU. Once he was in the medical ward for palliative care, Craig had moments when he was able to converse normally, even laugh, and long periods when he wasn't rousable. We stayed with him until he died early in the morning on the 30th of December. I wanted to explain what happened to Craig to clear it up for you. When I think of Craig, I think of a restless, energetic, enthusiastic, exuberant individual. You may not be aware that Craig was a proficient cook, and he enjoyed cooking. Good food, good wine and craft beer, also the occasional malt whisky. Craig was an avid reader of books and was very environmentally conscious. I don't know how to tell you how much I'm going to miss my brother. He loved his family, he loved his friends. He would thank all of you for being here.
Thank you, Lee. And now, Joe, Jamie and Hugh.
Hi everyone. Thank you all for coming here to farewell my dad, Craig. For those who don't know me, I'm Craig's eldest son, Jamie. I know my dad would be so happy and chuffed to see so many friendly faces here with him today. Growing up, my beautiful mama and my siblings, Brianna, Hugh and myself, were fortunate enough to experience the magic of country living. Throughout these years, many fond memories were made, some of which I've only recently come to appreciate. For example, having to painfully endure another episode of Country Calendar, which Dad watched religiously. These years hold the best adventures. Driving out in the Land Rover to huge old tree stumps that Dad swore had spotted lizards in, but to my disappointment, never revealed themselves. He always had an adventure up his sleeve. Even in more recent years, Dad made the effort to take me on weekend adventures full of camping and fishing, just the two of us. This is something I will hold close to my heart. I've grown into the man I am today because of you, Dad. You're someone I truly admire, and I'll always strive to make you proud. You taught me values and respect and demonstrated the hardest work ethic I've ever come to know. Standing by your side throughout your final journey, you taught me the importance of appreciating every moment in life, letting go of the little things, and enjoying the simple things life has to offer, like fresh fruit and drinking lots of water, because you never know when your journey ends. I know you'll be walking by my side as I explore what life has in store for me. I love you forever and always. Thank you for being my dad.
In struggle or strife, looking for that glimpse of inspiration, it had taken me until now to realise you were standing right there. I didn't see right through it. You were just quietly shaping your light, an anonymous skipper. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. For playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Your presence was one of pride, honour, respect, commitment, love. You represent what this world needs more of, and without you, It won't be the same, but I know we will all carry your memory that is embedded in my essence. For this, and an unspeakable amount more, I love you. I love you because you're my dad. Love you, Dada.
Craig, Craigie, Taigilock, Craigalag, Craigellicky, Dad, Daddy, Dada, or as Brianna so eloquently would yell out from her cot in the middle of the night, Daddy Craig, man! There is no without you, Craig. I carry you in my heart with love and light, and I will do so for the rest of my life. I seek you out in spirit for a cuppa, on a walk, or in quiet solitude, and you live on in our children each and every day. You captured my heart 30-odd years ago over a pool table at a bar in Taupo, and we hit it off straight away like a glove custom made to fit. We had fun and we loved life together. We swam in the ocean, we kayaked in the sea, we climbed mountains in the dark to watch the sunrise. We rode camels in the desert and made up our own self-drive safari through an African wildlife park. We sailed feluccas on the Nile. You became my rock, my soulmate, my truly, madly, deeply. Tall, loyal, resilient, stubborn, proud, fun-loving, kind. There are so many things to love about you, Craig. Your gregarious and outgoing nature, which sometimes offers a cloak of safety for an intensely private, sensitive and well-protected core. Your quirky sense of humour, the unexpected and sometimes slightly outrageous one-liners, and how your face crinkles and your eyes twinkle when you smile or laugh. How your beautiful big energy can light up a room, and your lusty loud singing can't help but bring a smile to our faces. Your sense of pride in your family history and heritage, your loyalty to those around you who you love and care about, your desire for knowledge and growth, and your willingness to accept people just as they are. You embrace all people and all cultures. This has always been really important to you. And of course, for your completely and utterly unyielding sense of optimism. You have taught our children to stand tall and to stand proud, to not judge or be unkind. You have inspired us all to strive to be the very best versions of ourselves that we can be, to not give up and to always, always carry on with head held high. To see that despite the challenges and the burden of a sometimes dark yesterday, the sunrise and the dawn of a new day always offers another opportunity, hope, and the chance to see things through fresh eyes and with renewed optimism. After we married, Craig and I travelled overseas together for a couple of years. Based in Jersey and the Channel Islands, we would work a couple of months, then travel a couple of months. Craig had a colourful array of jobs, working for Ministry of Ag and Fisheries, as a waiter in a French restaurant, a butcher in the Central Market, a gardener at a big garden centre. And his first job in Eastbourne before we went to Jersey was a back-of-house kitchen assistant at the Queen's Hotel. They were absolutely gutted when he handed in his notice after a few short weeks as we were leaving England. They said they'd never known anyone to work with such dedication and enthusiasm, and he was the best worker they'd ever had. So whether it was cleaning out the inside of a teapot or digging a fence post hole by hand, Craig always gave it his all. We travelled in Europe in our little blue car, surviving a bomb scare in Israel and placing our notes of hope and prayer in the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. We climbed mountains and steps, amongst others the Eiffel Tower, the New York Empire State Building, Mount Sinai, and our own beautiful Maunga Tauhara. One of Craig's greatest legacies and gifts to this world is his 3 children, our 3 children, Brianna, Jamie, and Hugh. Our kids meant the world to Craig. He was immensely and immeasurably proud of them. We will grieve your loss keenly, for our hearts are shattered and broken. But in your memory, and to honour you, we will in time step back into our lives, as I know you would wish us to, Craig, and we will do you proud again. Marrying me gave you a rite of passage into the Simpson family, where you've always been welcomed with loving open arms. My mum, Bets, lost her flatmate and friend, as well as her son-in-law. Back in the day, before our worldly worries rested a little too heavily on our shoulders, we would lie in bed at night, and Craig would often ask, "Have I ever told you that I loved you?" I would sleepily reply, "No, I don't think you have." And he would snuggle in closely and whisper gently in my ear, I love you, and I would respond in kind and fall asleep in his arms. Craig loved people, he loved life, and with him by my side, I felt safe. Craig lived life at full pace, as though there was no time to lose. When we lived on the farm, I got used to him running everywhere. The sound of his boots jogging across the front lawn was a familiar and comforting sound. He was an avid and vocal fan of the All Blacks, generally preferring being perched on the edge of his seat and in front of the TV, where he could see the game up close and from all angles. He would coach and cheer very loudly and vigorously, and it wasn't uncommon to get a fright from the whoop of delight at 3 a.m. when the AB scored or won a close match. I have been reminded on this recent journey with Craig to love like there is no tomorrow, because sometimes there isn't. To take the time to slow down, be patient, and be right here, right now, because it is all we really have. So be raw, be real, be kind. Hold your people tight before you let them go. Then go out and live your life like Craig did, enthusiastically, optimistically, and with faith that all is well, and in the hope that tomorrow's dawn will bring forth an even brighter day. We have weathered and endured some rough and stormy seas over the years. Recently, we were gifted a little precious time in the hospital, which I shall always be grateful for, a chance to forgive, to heal, to laugh and to cry, to quietly reflect, and the opportunity to remind ourselves that when we allow the small stuff, the big stuff, and the muck and dross of life to wash away, we are left with love. And in the end, we realise there is only love. Craig and I let the rest of the world wash into faded watercolours around us and took the opportunity to sit in a space of peace and of love. Craig, the last 2.5 weeks did not define who you are or your life, but I do want to acknowledge the dignity and the grace with which you journeyed them, and the gifts of insight and love you gave those of us who journeyed by your side. I hope by now, Craig, you've come to realise just how much you are loved and respected, and how widespread that love and respect are. You were, are, and always will be loved, cherished and honoured by myself, Brianna, Jamie and Hugh. The very last words Craig said to me were, I love you. So from my heart to yours and from me to you, love you too, Craig Gallagher.
Brianna might be on the other side of the world, and I'm just waving to her now, but she has a couple of tributes prepared for her dad, and we are going to play and listen to the first one of those now. I might suggest you get some tissues handy.
Part of me is you, and within my brothers too. In your mother and your sister and your brothers we see you. In the eyes and in the heart of my mother and your wife. You are here and always will be for the rest of our lives. You worked long and you worked hard, and you never could sit down. Your plumping boots outside my window were the most comforting sound. Picking pine cones, dusty dirt roads, holding tight to your rough hand. Laughing loudly, smiling widely, out in grass and mud and sand. I am proud to be your daughter. I'll sing loud as you always have. You will never be forgotten. So here's a song for you, my dad. You taught me to lift my head up, to stand strong and to stand tall. I taught you to hug me tighter, and you always heard my call. With your eyes that changed their color into blue and gray and green, and your smile so infectious that we couldn't help but be. I watched you fight with head held high, strong as ever and with grace. I am proud of you, have fun and keep that smile on your face. With the gift of time you gave us, we shared love and we shared tears. Gratitude for all adventures and your life throughout the years. I am proud to be your daughter. I'll sing loud as you always have. You will never be forgotten. So here's a song for you, my dad. I am proud to be your daughter. I'll sing loud as you always have. You will never be forgotten. So here's a song for you, my dad. You will never be forgotten. So here's a song for you, my dad.
Thank you, Brianna. Philip Pullman said that after nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the things we need most in the world. And I know it's a hard act to follow, Rob, but to help develop Craig's story, I'd like to invite you to come here.
I've been asked to share about Craig's journey in farming, but just to acknowledge that and his family. He was an amazing man of his family as well. And to nurture them, you guys, to where you are today, it's a real credit to him. I'm married to Craig's cousin Lucy, and I farm down in the Wairarapa. And I was asked by the family to share a few memories of Craig's love for farming. And I thank all the family for helping me to prepare these few words. Craig was a man who made the most every day. We've heard about him running around, he was always on the go. And he always greeted you with a smile. And when things got to a light-hearted moment, he had a hearty laugh. Upon leaving school, Craig went back to working on the farm on the station Waituru and began developing a wide range of skill sets. He was obviously the oldest and probably naturally took the lead. And when it came to the likes of haymaking, Craig had a great network of friends that he would pull together, and obviously back then there's all the conventional bales, and organising a crew to get them picked up, carted and stacked in the shed. And he was a man who grew his passion for machinery, and obviously ran the bale and the tractor, and probably let go of the hay rake and things to his other younger brothers and maybe to Lee. But he got things moving along. Obviously, like all of us in farming, he made the odd mistake. And apparently one day, after a busy day, he went to go and refuel the tractor, started the diesel running, and then felt he needed a moment to relieve himself. He wandered off and did this job, and like Craig, he had many things on his mind, lots of jobs on the go. A couple of hours later, he comes back to the tractor. Yes, the tractor was full with diesel, but there was also many 100 litres of diesel on the ground. These things happen, you move on. Obviously at the family farm there was the horticultural operation running, producing wonderful orchids. And Craig grew into the role of organising the logistics for these. Obviously a lot of them were sent overseas into the markets, and Craig grew into this role, and it showed his strength of planning, organising. In 1996 it was time for Craig and Ewan to form a partnership and take on the farming at Waituru. And there's many facets to this business. They developed an amazing herd of around about 350 Angus cows. And Craig was pretty meticulous, as we've heard, and we'll probably hear throughout the day, that he planned their rations over calving time. He had the minerals in place. He had the supplements ready when the seasons went dry and what have you. And they soon began to get the reputation of producing the top weaners in the district, topping the Taupo weaner fair consistently year after year. And this was really well respected by Five Star Beef, who are big fatteners of cattle, and at that time they were purchasing over 30,000 cattle a year, and they came back and bought these cattle that Craig and Ewan had produced, and said they consistently were among the top performers of all the cattle they had for their growth, their temperament, and their marbling ability. It doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of fine detail. It's a real credit to them. And it certainly made their uncle, Ross McLachlan, down the Rangitunga extremely proud, as they came down to the Wairarapa and purchased their genetics from Tarpuri Angus. To go beside that, they had a ewe flock, around about 1,800 ewes, and breeding and finishing operation. Obviously did a lot of cropping and things like that. And Craig was always learning new things that he wanted to achieve in farming. He wasn't going to stand still, he was always developing. And he added a bit of texel to the operation to improve their finishing ability. They also had the Southdown stud, which I understand was more Ewan's department, but that was another part of the business that they worked together. Lucerne grew very well on the land there, and they had around 50 hectares of lucerne, taking up to 3 cuts a year, and obviously storing these supplements for themselves. But it was a fantastic supplement, and it was recognised in the equine industry and the dairy industry, and seen it throughout the region. Yeah, Craig was a passionate man and had all the skills to do these things and was ever going forward. When farming ended at Waituruturi, Craig headed across to Australia for a new opportunity, and outside Melbourne, and was involved with an Angus stud there. And they recognised Craig's great strength, that he could implement an irrigation program, regrassing, and help with the AI program to develop that stud there as well. He had a great eye for stock and a passion to do it. And I looked at, I was kindly given Craig's CV, and there's some standout things that people have said about them. Obviously, Craig came back from after Australia and worked around this district for a while, putting his hand to different skills. He was a man who was always smiling and had a love for animals, and always was keen to grow his knowledge and keep moving forward. His positive attitude and energetic enthusiasm was great for the team morale. He had a remarkable work ethic. And got an amazing family there, but he was working on the farm very, very hard all the time as well. And he wouldn't finish work until the jobs were done. And he was involved with the community wherever he went, and he was always a man who would contribute. He wasn't going to sit in the back, he was always going to help out. Craig shifted down to the Wairarapa last year and come and stayed on the farm at the Rangitunga with us. And for a start, Craig just enjoyed walking the hills, reminiscing of the days that he was there with Ross and Julie and helping out with docking as all the McLachlan boys and Lee came down and helped out in doing the weaning and the cattle work. And there's the odd occasion when myself, we were under the pump, and I'd ask Craig, could you come and give us a hand? I don't know if you heard it before, but no doubt you have. He said, all good, I'll come and help. And it didn't matter how many things he had on his plate or what was going on, he was there to help. And he was a meticulous man. He would jump on that tractor, drive it very steadily. We're feeding out baleage, it was pretty dry at the time. And we'd cut down some poplar trees, and he cut up all the branches and threw it out to the cattle. And he always give us a bit of feedback. I like the look of that bull calf. That one's really coming on well. And he certainly had a good eye for it. He moved on to get himself on a dairy farm with the McLachlans also down in the Wairarapa. And he had an amazing routine. He'd be up at dawn, 5:30, go and do some weights, get everything done, jump in the car, go to work, come home, and he always clean his gear at the end of the day. And I think he looked after his gear all his life so well. So I say farewell to a friend, and I've certainly got to know Craig a lot over the last few weeks as I've had been able to prepare these words and spend time with him at his side in hospital briefly. And it was good to share that Craig had a Christian faith. And I hope this Christian faith leads Craig to the new heaven, and to the farm, and to the land that he'll work. And I know that when the jobs need to be done, he'll say, all good, all good.
We're going to hear from Gavin McLachlan, but I'm not sure where you are. Oh, right there. I should have known by the tie.
I took a handy seat there. Joe, Brianna, I know you're not here, but I know you're watching. Jamie and Hugh, thank you for doing me the honour of asking me to speak here today. Di and I have had an affinity with Craig from the time he was a boy. We laughed together, shared stories, and he confided in us. This continued throughout his life. When Alistair and Ava came down to stay at Stuart and Ivy's, Craig would come up and spend many hours with us. We came to love him as one of our own and followed his life and what was happening in it closely. Often he would seek our advice and we would do our best to give it to him. Some stories of Craig. I recall one occasion when he was a young fellow visiting my parents' place with his mother and father. Craig spied my bicycle in the shed and decided to take it for a spin. He'd have probably been 12 or 13 at the time, full of confidence. Mum and Dad had a long and rather steep drive down to the road, and Craig had not checked to see if the brakes were working or not. By the time he reached the main road, he was travelling at high speed, shot across the road into a deep drain on the far side. The bicycle was a wreck, Craig was shattered and bruised, and I'm sure he learnt a very valuable lesson that day. As he grew older, he would still call in and give us updates, and we would share a malt whisky or two. Always did that. We did that for the last time a few days before he passed away, and we both treasured that moment. In 1999, we held a family gathering at the Stone Circle at Koronan to celebrate the 150th anniversary of our family in New Zealand. Craig was an obvious choice to play a role in that occasion, and as the haggis bearer, Craig had the duty of carrying, and to quote Robbie Burns, the great chieftain o' the puddin' race, steaming and reeking into the circle. This to the delight of the more than 150 people present. There are three words that come to mind when I think of Craig. They're love, loyalty and courage. His great love for his family. He would always tell us what Brianna, Jamie and Hugh were up to and how they were doing, about how his love for Joe was still as strong as ever, and of his love for his extended family. He was also committed, as I've mentioned before, to the interests of the wider community, and at one point served as president of the Taupo Rotarians. He was a very good man. Courage. Craig was never one to back away from adversity, and in the latter years of his life he had to face many challenges. He had the courage to make decisions that many of us don't have to, and he made those decisions, and through a series of differing employment roles, got his life back on a steady course. Definitely a farming man at heart, and a very good one, I would add. He seemed to have found satisfaction working on the land again for Selwyn and Jenny McLachlan at Willow Park in the Wairarapa. This was originally his great-great-great-grandfather's property. Craig had come home. In another incident that I recall more than 20 years ago at the Wairarapa Angus Bull Sale in Masterton, Craig and Ewan would be there and inevitably purchase one or two of Ross's bulls. They took great pride in their Angus herd, which was renowned throughout the Taupo region. Ross was parading a bull in the ring when suddenly it turned on him, knocking him to the ground and pummeling him around on the concrete. Craig unhesitatingly leapt the 7 feet down into the ring, grabbed a piece of alkathene and beat the bull back off Ross, saving him from serious injury or even worse. No one in the complex at that time could ever forget the extraordinary bravery of that man. And they showed their approval of that with a big round of applause. Well done, Craig. In his final days, Craig again showed great courage in dealing with his situation. He knew what the outcome would be, and with unfaltering stoicism, he kept calm, shared his thoughts, and told his stories right to the end. It's been a privilege to have known you, Craig. I've been a part of your life. As fellow clansmen, we share the McLachlan motto, Fortis et Fidus, strong and faithful. These words, Craig, encapsulate your spirit and character. So until we meet again, and I know we will, Slain Shavar. Thank you.
I think Byron's going to tell another aspect of Craig's life. But again, I'm not quite sure where Byron is.
I've known Craig for nearly 25 years. I think from memory that we met on the volleyball court and we immediately struck up a great friendship, which only strengthened over the years and was cemented by common interests and common ideals. Excuse me. Craig was a mean volleyball player. I think it was my complete lack of height that let our side down. He probably, standing next to me, carried us through, along with DJ and some of the others, and I thank him for that. It made me look good. We shared some wonderful and special times. I recall drinking whiskies and smoking cigars on the deck of a fishing boat many years ago on a beautiful summer's day. And I came home from that trip with a whole lot of fish that I didn't even know existed. I had no idea what they were. They tasted wonderful. There was another occasion where we did the Tongariro crossing, and what was supposed to be a casual walk turned into a bit of a route march with Craig's determination and need to get us all to home base safely. I will say I don't have many true friends, close and true friends, but Craig was certainly one of them. Our friendship transcended time and circumstances. We didn't feel the need to be in each other's pockets or catch up all the time, but when we did, it was wonderful, it was great to be together, and we enjoyed every minute of it. I remember fondly working in the dental laboratory, and we'd hear footsteps running down the driveway. Craig would burst in and say something like, "Elephant Hill Merlot," and he'd be gone in a flash. And we'd be somewhat perplexed and a little stunned. And 60 seconds later, the steps were running down the driveway again, and he'd say, "On special at Pack and Save," and he'd disappear again, and we wouldn't see him for 2 or 3 weeks. Occasionally he would turn up on my doorstep after his Rotary meetings, and he'd have a bottle of whiskey in his hand, and we would share a few malt whiskies, reminisce about the world, talk about family, and just hang out together. And I always remember those times really fondly. He was part of my family. There were a few occasions where he came to live with us. And it was rather like having the brother that I didn't have come home from overseas or some mission that he'd been on, and he would turn up, move in, and we loved having him. There was a time I heard him scuttling around in the kitchen long before dawn, and I got up bleary-eyed to find that he had made himself a magnificent lunch to take to work. Waved him goodbye, and about 10 o'clock in the morning, there was his lunch still sitting on the doorstep. He'd totally forgotten to take it with him. He had a really big heart. He helped my children on numerous occasions in my stead when I was in Australia and couldn't be there myself. He helped them through some hard times, sometimes when they needed physical help, and I hope if ever the need was to arise, to repay that debt. To Joe, and all of Craig's family, know that my family is with yours in spirit. We grieve with you. We mourn a great friend, a cherished friend, who was kind, caring, compassionate, capable, courageous, and the most colourful character I've ever met. Craig, you will be in our hearts forever.
Thank you, Byron. And now I think you almost segued quite nicely into our next speaker, who is from the Rotary family, Maureen Bailey.
Good afternoon. My name is Maureen Bailey. I was extremely honoured that Craig had asked me to speak to you on behalf of our Rotary family, as I know there are many who would like to have spoken. Craig joined Rotary in 1990 when he was only 30 years old, when his father Alistair was also a member. He was a wonderful asset for the club for numerous reasons. But the most important thing he brought was youth. As the popular perception of Rotary was, and possibly still is, an old boys' club. so for the duration he managed to keep the average age down. When asked did he mind being the youngest member, he said, "All people are the same when you get to know them. Age does not matter." He became a very popular president in 2006, and Rotary flourished under his term of office. One very successful fundraiser was a Royal Variety concert held in the Great Lakes Centre. As president, his role was to escort the Queen, and as they walked into the theatre in a very regal manner, waving to the audience, who stood and applauded enthusiastically. He also gave an excellent speech, which Ava reminded me about, and raised over $8,000 for a much-needed equipment for St John and the fire service. He held several positions within Rotary, secretary, treasurer, and although he enjoyed those, he was very fond of community and the youth portfolios. I went with him on several occasions to the secondary schools to interview students who had applied for the very sought-after Rotary Youth Leadership course and the Summer Science School. He had a natural rapport with these students, and he was able to engage them in a friendly and relaxing interview. The Oxfam 100-kilometre walk was held here over a number of years, which we all assisted with. It was pretty hard work for most of us, but true to form, Craig took on the arduous role of tail-end Charlie, ensuring that the last of the walkers staggered in safely. Although Craig had a few breaks away from Rotary, like when he and Joe travelled overseas and when he went to Australia, he always came back to us and was very warmly welcomed. He was extremely popular with all the members, with his teasing, vibrant personality, and everyone loved his company. He had that special ability to make you think you were important. We all loved seeing him. He was like a breath of fresh air. One of the last meetings he attended, he arrived splendidly attired in his McLachlan kilt, much to the delight of the ladies. One member remarking on his gorgeous legs. So he was quite keen to lift his kilt ever so slightly to give her a better view. Of course, that started a bit of fun, but he would not disclose what he was wearing under the said kilt. Our stories are many, as are our memories, and there is no doubt we will continue to share them with very fond memories of our dear friend Craig.
Thank you, Maureen. Well, Brianna, you're on screen in a moment, so stand by, so that we're about to watch the second tribute that Brianna and Kieran have prepared for her dad, Craig.
Morning office buildings chasing the sun, and wind is racing after the day. Everybody's chasing the beauty they don't have, and I am chasing you. Raindrops keep falling, and commuters come waiting for the train in the longest of every night. And everybody's waiting, waiting for the sunrise at night. Oh, I'm waiting for you. We are only dreaming, and I'm dreaming only of you. We are only dreaming, and I'm dreaming only of you. We are only dreaming, and I'm dreaming only of you. We are only dreaming, and I'm dreaming only of you.
We're going to pause now and watch the photo tribute Craig's family has created. These are moments to reflect on Craig, and if you wish, it's also a space for prayer.
I did my best to notice when the call came down the line, up to the platform of surrender. I was brought, but I was kind. And sometimes I get nervous.
something he can't see. My baby don't care, knows it. My baby just cares for me. Baby, my baby don't care for shows, and he don't even care for clothes. He cares for me. My baby don't care, 'cause in the way he says, baby don't care for. He don't care for high-tone places or stays, not even style, and even Liberace smile. Something he can't see. It's something he can't see. I wonder what's wrong with baby. Baby just cares for my baby just cares for my baby just cares for me.
Brian Turner writes, maybe heaven is a place in the hearts of those who respected and honestly liked you a lot. An earthly place, which, with brightness behind you, surreal skies above, lights the best way home. Craig had a lot of input into this ceremony, and we're about to come to its conclusion, which is a difficult place to arrive at. We know that the extent of grief is reflected in the depth of love. We were blessed to have Craig in our lives, and in those last weeks and days of his life, we learned that when everything is stripped away, there is only love. Love rises up. Conversation cuts to the heart of things because there's no time for small talk and there's no time to beat about the bush. Sometimes fear of change and grief can shut out beauty at the very time where we need beautiful touchstones the most. So as you all leave here, please keep an eye out for beauty and joy and kindness. It's what will help you in the difficult days ahead. Before we move to our parting words, please join me, if you wish, in saying the Lord's Prayer. It's often called the People's Prayer, and the words are on your service sheet. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our day, our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. It was Craig's wish for a private cremation, and I will say our final blessing now and ask you to please stand if you're able. Craig, we have to let you go. We will miss you. We are so grateful for your life, your wisdom, and your love. And now, in silence, we make our farewell, and tenderly and reverently commit the body of Craig Stewart McLachlan to be cremated. The arc of loss is long, and to honour Craig, keep giving it your best, be kind, recognise the strength of his being and the love that he shared, and tick all your boxes. Craig, you have our blessing. Take with you our love and go safe in the knowledge that yours was a great life. Too short, but still a great life. And rest now with those who have gone before you. Ka tu tono koe e roto i te aroha. Be true to the love within you. Craig, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rain fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Taringa whakarongo! Yeah!